What's up, everybody? Joshua Laycock here, Lifestyle Evolution. It is a glorious afternoon, sunny, beautiful. Why not do a video? So I'm going to speak about something that I never thought that I would have to say. I never thought that it's something that needed clarification or reiteration, but apparently it does. A while ago, I've spoken about the difference between being a generalist and being a specialist or someone who is less deep on one subject matter and maybe crosses a bunch of things. And generally the conversation has to do with things professionally. But today this actually has come up a couple times in a variety of different contexts. And so I was dealing with someone in a business transaction. This is not someone that I work with, but in another transaction. And quite frankly, they fucked it up. Like they weren't doing their job. And when I said, like, hey, I'll work through this with you, but like what's kind of going on here? Their answer was, well, you're the product specialist. You're the person who knows all these things. I'm a generalist. And I had to say, I had to kind of bite my tongue a little bit, but I was thinking to myself, and I said it a little bit. I was like, well, being a generalist doesn't mean that you could be shitty at your job. Being a generalist isn't a pass for not knowing your craft. Being a generalist isn't a pass on being ineffective. Your shit still has to be good. It just means you don't have to go deep on everything. Like, you don't have to be level 10 on everything. But if you're going to hold yourself out as a professional, if you're going to get paid for this, if people are going to rely on you, whether it's your own employees at your work or the people that you're doing business with, you still have to have your shit together. And I was a little confused by this. And it's not the first time that I've run into this where, and I think again, and there's themes about what we're talking about here. I feel like this is another symptom of this all or nothing mentality in life where it's like you either need to be a deep diving specialist on something or fuck it, I don't have to know anything. That's someone else's problem. And I think this is why I'm seeing generally across the board, the quality of product that people are bringing to the table is low. Maybe it's just some of the circles that I'm running in, and I know that this is probably not a very popular or tactically wise thing to say in my world, but I don't really care. It's like, step up your game. This concept of I'm a generalist has come to mean I don't really have to do anything. I don't have to be effective at anything. I just have to be modestly shitty at a bunch of stuff. And that's really disappointing. It was another conversation I had with someone today about parenting. And it was a great conversation. We were talking about some tactics that I am deploying in dealing with some challenges around communication and listening among with my son, my 5-year-old. And I was talking about the books that I was reading and some of the conversations that we're having and the really great open and honest conversations that my wife and I, Kate and I, are having about how are we going to handle this and are we doing the right thing. And even yesterday, I remember I disciplined Caleb for doing something and maybe I was a little over harsh. I sent him to his room and just told him to get ready for bed a little early. We don't subscribe to corporal punishment, but later when we were talking about, well, can we bring him down? Should we backtrack from maybe a bit of an overly harsh punishment that I'd put down? And I was like, yeah, let's be open to that conversation. Then we were saying, who's better to deliver that message, you or me? Like, I don't really know. It's not a matter of who wants to. It's like, what's the right play here? Anyway, we have active conversations about how we want to parent. And this person, I think, didn't mean it the way it came out, but they're like, yeah, but that's easy for you. That's natural for you. You put all that energy. You're like Captain Parent. You're on these podcasts and you read all these books and you do all these things. And I said, sort of like, and? Just because I'm not a specialist in parenting, right? They're people who commit their entire lives and everything they've got to it. Maybe relative to this person, I throw a lot more energy at learning about these things and trying to be deliberate. But it was sort of like this excuse, like, I'm a generalist. I don't give that much attention to any one thing. So that potential solution or that level of time and energy isn't relevant to me. And I thought, like, you're just surrendering to being, I'm not going to say a shitty parent, not by any stretch, but in this particular situation, you're dealing with an issue. It was a big enough issue that you wanted to come and talk to me about it, which I appreciate. But your solution is like, I'm a parenting generalist, so I'm not going to get into the weeds on these particular solutions. I'll have to find something else to do. It's kind of like this thing I talked about before. It's like, well, maybe if you don't, not everyone has to be on a dad podcast, or not everyone has to read volumes and volumes of books on parenting, and maybe not every parent has to be that engaged, although, quite frankly, I think if you're going to be a parent, you should probably give it a go. But the other option that you're giving yourself is like complete surrender and walking away from these particular situations. It seems, again, all or nothing, and you still have to step up in whatever that you choose to do with a level of competency that gets the job done. In baseball, there are generalists who can play every position, who can hit at any order in the lineup, but they still have to be good baseball players. You don't get guys who strike out every day and commit 3 or 4 errors a game. You're like, I'm a generalist. What are you going to do? I don't get that. And I don't know if it's a pride in the work. I don't know if it's an effort thing. But I see a lot of specialists in our industry, and they're really, really good at what they do. And it's interesting because you might get someone who's a product expert, but they happen to be good at the other stuff. They're good at communication. They happen to be good at the protocol and the systems and the business etiquette. They happen to be good at those things. They're really freaking good at the product specialty thing that they're diving into. And maybe that just comes with the mindset and the mentality of, I'm going to focus my energy on something. I'm going to learn a craft and I'm going to be good at it. But it seems like the gap between incredible and shitty is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these generalists aren't really generalists. It's almost like this label they've given themselves to not have to put the effort in. So I just wanted to be clear when I was talking about, you don't have to go deep on everything. You don't have to, whatever your job is, unless it's life or death, I don't think you have to go deep and give it everything that you've got. But you sure as hell better show up knowing what to do and doing your job effectively. Please don't confuse generalist with being ineffective. Anyway, I hope that for most of you, pardon me, I hope for most of you who are watching this, you're going to go like, yeah, that's obvious. But it's come up enough over the past little while, and it certainly has shown up enough times yesterday and today that I thought, does this need to be spoken about? Like, do we need to remind the average human being that you have to be good at your job? Like, you don't have to be a relationship expert, but that doesn't mean that you mail it in with your spouse, right? You don't have to be, you don't have to be a chef, a 5-star Michelin chef, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't know how to, boil water and feed your family. I don't know. It kind of surprised me that it needed to be said, and I guess, we'll leave it at that. But please make sure that whatever you're showing up in life, you're at least doing the minimum. You're at least showing up with skills that are worthwhile. And that's all I got, I guess. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that you enjoy the sun. I hope that there's sun wherever you are. And please make sure that if you want to be a generalist and there's value for a skilled generalist, please make sure that that's not an excuse for being shitty at your job or driving. Man, it's chaos here. So I'm going to run, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.